Okay, so I've just finished making my car. It's come out of the machine. Still got the support structure attached. It'll be look a little bit furry, like this. It might have some of the holes plugged up with sawdust and that sort of stuff. So just give it a bit of a dust over and a bit of a clean up. This support structure at the front will have your initials on it. This is worthwhile hanging on to, just so you can put it up into the tubes, and it's a bit of a placeholder. You know which one's yours up in the tube. So it is worthwhile hanging on to the actual stub, even once you've cut it off, because we'll use it as a placeholder, but it also comes in handy if you do accidentally knock a wing off and then lose it, then you can remake your wings by hand out of the spare bit of balsa. So first things that you'll notice, obviously, we've got to get rid of the support structure and the little joiner here. And you'll notice that the car is quite rough. So there's probably a line running down the middle, and there's a whole bunch of lines created by the tool, which run parallel with your work because you've done a parallel operation. So that will be something you'll need to fix up. And one side often comes out really fluffy, and we'll have to obviously sand all the fluff off and fix that up. Okay, so our first step is to start sanding and cutting this element off. So when we cut this off, normally I'll cut straight down here first, so cut straight across, and then we'll cut out this bit afterwards. And then obviously we've got to sand up, so pop it down. So first thing I'm going to do is use the saw. Range of different saws you could use. This is a brand new one we've got, it's a little dovetail saw. This should be perfect for this application. What I'd try and do normally is put a little surface underneath it. Hopefully I can do this so you can see a bit easier. Now I'm going to use this shoulder here as my reference edge. So I'm going to run the saw against this shoulder, and that's just going to be a reference edge. Will give me a nice clean cut. Now, so that cuts off the actual front support structure, and then I've just got this little bit through here I want to take out as well. Now that part's easier to get rid of than you'd probably think. This material's super soft, so you can use a knife or some sandpaper to get rid of that element. Usually what I try and do is cut away as much as I can with a knife, remembering to cut away from myself, obviously being careful of where I'm cutting and who's around me. I'm trying to cut away most of that by hand using this knife or this scalpel. Please never cut towards yourself. So I'm going to get rid of most of that stuff by hand. And I'm going to get it to a point where I can give it a bit of a sand. Okay. Next up, I'm going to get some sandpaper. I'm going to start with the smallest number. So if it's a 70 or 120, and I'm going to use that as to basically get rid of as many of these machine lines as we can. So there's lots of little ones which run all the way around the car, all in parallel. So I'm going to start working those off. I'm not going to do a whole video of this. Won't be particularly interesting. I find that folding the paper in half can be helpful. It gives it a little bit more stiffness. If you've got a lot of flat edges, you might want to put something flat in behind it. Maybe put it around a ruler or something like that, just so you've got a nice straight reference edge when you're sanding. But if you've got lots of curves, then just a bit of sandpaper like this, fold it over on your fingers, works as good as any. You want to avoid trying to sand off elements that you need, like flat elements like this, especially at the front. And you want to also avoid sanding off your wings and breaking them. So be careful when you are sanding these. There's a good chance that you can break them. The material is super soft and it breaks quite easily. So, as I said, I'm not going to do a full video of this. I'll do a before and after, I guess. Might take a bit more out with the knife before I try and sand that out, but it depends how brave you are with your knife skills in terms of how far you want to go with that. And I'll give you another video on how to work through the next stage, which will be filling and sealing.